Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Heidi and you are watching Heidi Creates. Today I'm actually doing a project out of need, and as you can see right behind me I have a pretty big blank space on my wall back there, and one of the things that we need in this room is a clock, and so I decided I am going to make a clock. I kind of vacillated a little bit between what I wanted to do. At first I thought, well, I'll take an old palette and take it apart and use that and have a real rustic, worn look with that kind of wood. And I nixed that idea. I decided instead, I went ahead and went and bought some 1x4 pieces of wood, and I'm going to go ahead and make the clock out of those. But I have this architectural piece in the room, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to mimic this a little bit on the outside edge design. This is considerably smaller than the actual finished clock that I need. I think the finished clock is going to be somewhere around 21 inches. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I came about coming up with a pattern for the clock, kind of mimicking this design right here. Also, if you do me a really big favor, click on the subscribe button. And then if you click on the bell that's right next to it, that will alert you to every time I post a new video on my channel. And also anytime while you're watching this video, if you like what you're seeing, click on that thumbs up button. Go down in the comments and just tell me where you're from, where you're watching from. I'd love to know where my audience is. I think this is going to be in 2 parts. This will probably definitely be a part 1 video. Let's head over to the drawing board. This is going to be about 21 inches square, and I'm just using printer paper to make out a pattern. I have this nice cutting mat which makes it really easy to measure out sizes, and so I'm using 2 8.5 by 11 pieces of printer paper, and I'm just overlapping them but checking to make sure that the overall length of this is at 21 inches. This line of the paper is actually going to be the middle, and so it's the full length, but this is the middle of the clock. The distance from here to this outside corner only needs to be half the distance. So I don't need to go 21 inches on that. Well, I know that if 21 inches, and it have to be at least 10.5 inches wide. I know that that's going to work as far as the width is concerned. I'm going to use my quilting ruler. This has a 45-degree angle on it. So all I have to do is go up to the corner, line that up. Here's the 45-degree line right here. I'm just going to mark that. Then I'll pick this up, go from corner to my mark, and I'm just going to draw a line straight out. Go in this corner, line up the straight edge, mark out the 45-degree angle. Again, line up the corner, draw the diagonal line, and that's giving me half the square. I realize those marks are not even visible for you, so I'm going to go ahead and darken my lines here using a black Sharpie. Because I'm wanting to mimic the shape, and I'm going to put it so that this point right here is on the point that I made, that angle that I made up there. And I have a gap right in here, and I'm also going to line that gap up the paper so I know this is on a straight line right down the center of this little design. And I'm going to go ahead and trace with a pencil first. Just those 3 shapes all the way to that end. Then I'm going to take the same shape and I'm going to put it in the corner that's out here. Center it as much as I can, and again I'm just going to follow the all 3 points, their entire shape. Again, I'm doing it with my pencil. I will darken this out so you can see that. Then the last thing I need to do is actually put this one into this corner. Eyeballing it to see that the paper is lined up so it's straight down the center of this little motif. And tracing that. I'm mostly just wanting to mimic a few of the shapes as much as I can. I want to put a shape in between each of these right here in this long line. So what I need to do is I need to measure my distance. Actually, it's 14 3/4. So we can make that 7 3/8 should be perfect for center. Measuring from this corner to here. And just to double check that I got my numbers right, if I slide this down, measure it from this end, I got 7 3/8. Perfect. Do that on both sides. 7 3/8. I always double check, make sure I got it centered, and 7 3/8. So I'm just going to put a little tick mark there so you can see where my center is. I'm going to take the smaller motif and I'm going to put the point of it right there on that center mark that I just made. Making sure that this piece is as parallel as I can make it with that dark line that I have there. And again, I'm just tracing around the whole motif, doing it on both sides. This is where I have to do a little bit of freehand business here. So instead of following the original line went down here like this, instead of following that, here, let's draw this little flower out. I want to make a nice curve to attach these two. So let me just do it with my pencil first. It's always easier with a pencil. I'm going to come down this line a little bit and then join up with this one. So here's how I did it. I just made a nice curve and attached there. How do you make that curve match for every spot on this? Well, I have the magic of a light box. If you don't have a light box, a window works perfectly well. I called this a light box, and that's very old school. This is actually a light pad. So we are going to use this to help get our design, this line in each of these 4 spots. I'm going to fold this kind of in half here. And I can see with the aid of the light, and again, you can do this on your window. I'm just putting my lines over each other so that I can see below the line that I made. And I trace over that. Anyway, I trace over that. Because I'm using a Sharpie, I want to be really careful about not having the marks go through onto my table. Just going to get this out of my way. Removing excess paper here. So I'm going to now do this in marker so that you can see this. Okay. Now if I turn this over, turn my light pad back on, then I can, and I'm going to put this paper underneath it because I don't want it to go through onto my light pad. I'm going to trace that line again so that it's on the front side. Now we're symmetrical. We have these 2 ends done, but now we need to get the marks here and here. So now I'm going to take this paper, and this is the side we need to draw on. So I'm going to take that side and match it up to over here on the other side, opposite from it. All right, line up my marks. Again, trace it with the pencil, but I have put my other piece of paper underneath there. All right, turn it over to the front side. Actually, I don't like this very much. There we go. Then we have just this one last section to do. So I'm going to fold this over to this side, line up my motif, get my lines right. Actually, I don't have to, since I have paper under there, I can actually do it with the marker. Open it up. So I'm all done with the light pad. I have traced this design onto all three corners that I have on this paper. You can see it there. Okay. And so now all you have to do is cut out around your design. All right, I have my design all made. I think it's going to look really good. So now it's all about going out to the workshop and let's take it to the wood. I have my 1x4s. I have two of them. The first thing that I need to do is I need to cut these, and I need to cut them into 21-inch lengths. I'm going to make a stop on the saw so I don't have to measure out each piece. I just have to measure once. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and get going and chop, chop, chop. So I don't have the luxury of a biscuit joiner, so I'm going pretty simple here. And actually I don't mind it because I kind of want it to have that rustic look anyway. So what I've done here is I've taken all my pieces, looked for the cleanest side. And what I mean by that is it has the least amount of knots to it, or whichever side I like the best. I have it facing down. This is my back side that's facing up. I don't have a, gosh, I think it's not a planer, but a joiner that cleans up the side edges. I don't have one of those. So I just kind of made sure that each of the pieces of wood that I had, that they weren't going to fight against each other and push away from each other too much. This is the only one I don't particularly care for, so I think that's better. I'm not going to glue these together. I do have these pieces of wood here that are, it's going to go across the back, and I'm going to pre-drill, but I'm going to have a screw that goes into every single board, and I'm going to pre-drill those using wood screws and attach that. Now I am going to put some glue on this board here, just get a little extra stability. So I'm going to pre-drill these and glue them into place and screw them into place, and see you at the next step. Something that I've decided to do just to ensure that this is pretty stable is I'm putting 2 screws in each board, and that will help, I think, hold it better. Well, I'm going to go ahead and trace my pattern on now. Let's see if I can get this pencil to work. It's terrible. I put the big motif in the corner. I go ahead and draw the pattern out as I had done it on the paper. And then I found the halfway mark as far as how far, what's halfway on the wood. And this is the mark here. So I always go that far in my tracing. Gosh, this pencil is terrible. And then once I get it done, I just make the lines smooth so that I can see. And this is not real dark here, so I'm going to retrace right here in the corner. Obviously, I need to go get a new pencil, but when I'm right in the middle of a project, I hate to have to go run and get something. I'm going to continue with the pattern now down this edge, and I need to make it so those marks meet. Again, because the marks are a little bit off, all I have to do is just make a pleasing little line there. I'm going to go ahead and actually get a ballpoint pen, or a Sharpie would be just too wide. I don't want that big of a line to have to follow with the saber saw. The camera pooped out for some reason, so I only have a little bit left to show you cutting with the saber saw. Obviously a bandsaw would have been so much easier than using one of these, a jigsaw or saber saw, whatever you like to call them. But it gets the job done if you have a limited tool selection in your shop. Have the decorative edge all cut out, and now comes the fun job of sanding. Lots of sanding. Hey, thanks for joining me this week. Call it quits for now. Look at that. That's going to be the clock. That's going to be big. That's a big clock. Anyway, got the sanding done. And so next week we'll get into actually priming it, and the numbers put on, and finishing up, making it a clock. So I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you next week here on Heidi Creates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.